What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Ever Adaptive Podcast. I'm Sarah Budson here with my host, Beckie Flowers, and we have a very special guest today, someone who I have a very long-standing relationship with, who is a very dear, dear friend of mine. I absolutely adore her. And she has graced us with her presence to be on our 10th episode and our very first guest. So Miss three-time Olympia Andrea Shaw.
Feel like we needed a drum roll.
I know.
Cue the theme music.
Right?
What's up? Thank you so much for having me on, girls. I feel so honored to be the first guest. This is like,
Oh my gosh.
you know what I mean? There's always only a first, like one time, right?
Yeah. And we'd never really had like any set expectations for the podcast. And so when we were kind of brainstorming of like, okay, now we kind of got things rolling a little bit and maybe we can kind of start considering like, all right, who would be good to bring on? And I mean, immediately I think of you because I just adore you. And I mean, our history goes back, I don't even know how many years now, what, like 5, 6 years now?
I think it's probably closer to 7.
Is
6
it?
or 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta be 7, somewhere in there. It's been going by so fast. I mean,
I know.
crazy.
And you've accomplished so much. Like I literally remember you when you got your pro card.
Oh wow, man.
Actually, I'm gonna put in a picture. We're gonna paste a picture here of Andrea. It's super embarrassing because we both look like crap, but
oh, we have grown a lot. Like, oh my gosh.
yeah, but
we're much more graceful now.
yeah. I believe it was your first time back to Mind and Muscle after you got your pro card that we got that picture.
Right.
But
wait, so how did you guys originally meet?
yeah, Drea, do you
At
want
the
to say
gym.
this?
Yeah, at the gym. So Sarah started coming to the gym. My coach had just recently started bringing me to that gym. And you know how it is, you know, you see girls and it was a hardcore gym. The gym actually just closed in May of this year. So it's a little bittersweet for us. Yeah. But it was just, you know, since it was a hardcore gym. I mean, when you saw another woman in the gym and she's, you know, lifting, it was like, hey girl. And I mean, it was just a matter of every week, you know, just seeing her because I was in prep to get my pro card. So I mean, I was in the gym a lot that year. We're talking 2018 that year, but I had seen Sarah in the gym before then, but we really started to see more of each other because at that year, I was very determined to get the pro card. So I did 5 shows that year and I started prep in January. So I literally was in prep like from January to November when I got my pro card. And it was, a lot of me.
Long prep.
Yeah.
Soul
But it was worth
draining.
it. So worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah. And I specifically remember like our first conversation. I don't know if you remember, but because you were personal training clients out of there as well. And you had a client on the Stairmaster next to me. And I remember I was on the Stairmaster and I remember you saying to this client, you're like, now don't hold on to the rails because that's cheating.
That is so my line. Because I'm like, no cheating. You will not cheat my grind.
Yeah. And I remember you had asked my name and then we had started conversing from there because I had always seen you and like you were always so intimidating to me because I just like, I mean, you're amazing. And I'm just like, oh my God, when I grow up, I want to be like Drea.
Beckie. And she knows I'm gonna do it. You know I'm gonna do it. I love you. Beckie, she was not the Sarah you know now.
No.
I mean, and I never judge people
chunkier
based on she was thickums. And I don't judge people based on their looks. That's not me. I really grew to appreciate whenever it happened in her head. There was something that happened. A switch got flipped. And one day we were like in passing and I said, hey, how's it going? And she was like, I'm in mindset of just doing what I got to do to get it done. And when she said that, it was like, it was different. You know, when people say certain things, it lets you know that their mind has taken like a shift and they're going somewhere different. And you just gotta have to watch, right? Because at that point she was like done talking. She was about action. And it was like almost instantly Sarah did this like total 180. She came in the gym and I was like, oh my God, what like what are you doing? Like what happened? She lost a ton of weight and she was just going after the next thing. And it was like, you know what? I'm giving my life to this. This is going to be my new life's mission. And we just began to talk. And it was like, I feel you, because I was on that same wavelength. It was like, you know what? This is a part of our life. This is what we do. This is what we are going to present to the world as a part of who we are. Right. And I never like to tell people let your identity get caught up into fitness or into any one particular thing, but it's been so meaningful to both of us. Right. And it's changed our trajectory, our outlook, boosted self-esteem, brought us, out of relationships that weren't working. It just, yeah. And we've been able to really be on that harmonious, wavelength, ever since. And it's just been a joy to watch her blossom. I was there when she did her first show. I wasn't going to miss that at all. And she killed it.
I remember hearing you when I remember hearing you when I was on stage and you're like, smile.
No, I love that so much because I can't tell you how many times in just these last 9 episodes we've talked about like just that mindset switch. And Sarah brings that up all the time. And really that's where this whole podcast came from. It's like being ever adaptive and like adapting to your situation. And she just embodies that. So I love it.
Guys,
I
this
can't
isn't
wait to
about
get into
me.
your story. I can't wait to like know more about you because I know that if she's so drawn to you, like there is a damn good reason why. So
oh yeah, because she was even still, she's nice in the gym, but Sarah's about the business. Like Sarah's in there to get it done. She's like, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna give you some some little tiblets on chatting, but I gotta get to the work over here. And there's just that unstated understanding of, you know what, that's respect. That's respect because she knows what she came here to do and she's not leaving without getting it done and she's not going to be distracted by that. So, I mean, again, we just from day one, it's just been a good ride and I'm so excited.
I love you so much.
I love you more.
But you know what? You know what? Like you have been in I feel like I've maybe expressed this to you, but I don't feel like if I have, it's been enough. But I have always just so much respected and looked up to you in the sport and the lifestyle of everything. Like you are truly, you've been such a driving factor to, and it's like, no, have I gone far in competing yet? Absolutely not. But just in everything that I have embodied in fitness and just the lifestyle of everything, I do credit a lot of it to having you kind of in the forefront of my head as well, because I've seen your come up and I've seen where you came from before you got your pro card to now Olympia 3 times. And like, and you're so grounded and I will say this until I'm blue in the face. Whenever anyone ever mentions you, like winning Olympia, I'm like, I do not know another human being who is more deserving because you are just so truly, just so genuine, so authentic, so just stick to your guns. And you're just such a good human being. And I couldn't be happier for you that things have happened the way that they have, because you're so deserving of it.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you. And she'll tell you, I mean, I'm just one of those people where if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I'll be quiet. It's very simple for me. It's very simple because I value, even in Sarah and I's friendship, we just value that sincerity and that realness, right? It's like, that's the sauce, right? We can put masks on for people, but what good does that do us, right? And where is the real connection, right? That's where one of my pillars, I started to develop, like 3 pillars that I really want to like live my life by. And one of them is definitely connecting. And I feel like when you're authentic in how you connect, those friendships last you, or those relationships last you so much longer, right? And those relationships serve you so much better because you are like into it for the right reasons and you're really committed to being real.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about you, Andrea, is like I value our friendship so much because you're still just the same Drea that I've always known down to your core. And like that hasn't changed in your entire just journey with everything that you've come from and come to this day. Like you are still the Drea that I met back in 2017, 2018. And I mean, even at my show, right before, like between prejudging and finals, we just sat in the back and talked for like what 2 hours,
almost 2 hours. I was like,
yeah.
oh, her mom is a jewel. Oh my God, her mom.
Oh, I love her
What
mom.
an
I know she's watching
exciting
this.
thing. Oh, her
I love
mom
her.
is like, hey, Ma.
My mom's gonna be so excited to see
I
you
did
on
not
here.
want to let her go. She was just, oh man, I see where you get it from. Like, I can totally see where you get it from. Her mom was just super sweet, super supportive. And whatever it is that, is on your heart, there's just open space. And I love that. I love that. And that was it was such a good day. It was such a good day. But, I think, again, that's what differentiates people as champions, right? Whether it's or competitors, the ability to be able to take this sport, and yes, you have the opportunity to excel at it, but this sport is, I think, more about you getting down to the core of like who you are and eradicating some parts of you that don't serve you and it don't serve your relationships, right? So keeping your word, things like communicating, being even clearer on communication, managing your time well. Those are the things that I can definitely say over the last, 4 or 5 years really started to just resonate with me, right? About how I've grown and how I've been able to, I love you guys' name for the podcast, adapt, right? I needed to learn to adapt. I have this goal. It's a lofty goal, right? I started with, the pro card in mind, but yeah, every year there's like that next thing, right? And the next thing. And you just keep setting goals because I mean, what else are you going to be reaching for if you don't have goals, right? But you still have life that goes on in between. And like Sarah will tell you, we lost someone at the gym who was pretty near and dear to me right before I got my pro card. And it was rough. It was rough. I was on the treadmill some nights just crying because I just didn't understand, right? And the gym was just a safe place to kind of just, I still had to get my work done, but I was in a place where I still was grieving. And that was a rough year. I mean, Sarah came into my life back then at a good time because, I mean, it was a lot to deal with. I mean, a lot of people don't know this part of this journey, but so we lost some gym buddies in a house fire. And he was like one of the first people who told me that one day you're going to be a Miss Olympia. It was just, when people believe in you, you don't take that lightly, right? And you keep it always in your heart. You should anyway, when they're coming from that genuine place. And right before the week before he died, I lost my godmother. So she partially raised me. And that was tough because I got the chance to FaceTime her and I was literally getting ready to get on the plane and go down the very next day and she passed away. So I got a chance to see her. And then 2 weeks before that, my makeup artist passed away. It was just like, I could not believe where like I was at that moment. I was just like going to work and trying to be in prep. I was just like, some days I was numb and some days I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot pull myself together. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, that September and I had to be on stage in November and it was just like, man.
I was just going to ask. So that was 2 months out and you were.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And that's where, when you built these genuine relationships with people, right? Seeing Sarah, seeing my other gym friends and family in the gym, it was just like, okay, what would they want you to do? You got to keep going. We're cheering for you, right? Like, come on, girl. We got you no matter what the outcome, right? And that I'll never forget it. Because again, those things become, I like to call it the sauce of life, right? But it helps you to really keep moving forward. And that's what I think is so important about any goal that you have. You just got to be committed, and then you have to surround yourself with people that will keep cheering you on, keep giving you those words of wisdom that will say, hey, you got this. If you got to rework the plan and adapt to something else, it's cool. We still got you. Yeah, I love it. I love you so much, girl.
I love you so much. I can't say it enough. Like you are, like when I think of some of my favorite humans on this earth. Like, you are absolutely in that small little pocket of people, because you just, every time we've ever had more than 5 minutes, to say hi really quick, we just have these deep, just soulful conversations. And Beckie and I have had these conversations about people in our life, right? Where you leave that conversation feeling energized. And that's been every single time that I have ever had an encounter with you. But then, there's those people that take energy away from you, and just trimming those out and getting rid of those people, because that's just wasted time, wasted energy. And if you're not going to have those people that leave you more energized, or B, are just supporting you throughout whatever, like, I don't have time. And that's been so huge to me, and I know for you as well.
Yeah, because nobody is going to achieve great successes as long as you're surrounding yourself with the energy zappers. I mean, the vampires will take you down. They will. If you let them, they will completely take you down. And it's been, even now, you guys, I've had to cut some people, out for a while. I mean, I don't know if I will invite them back. And again, I'm still on to the next goal, right? I want to make 4 times, right? God willing, 10. But
Hell yeah.
it was like, I had to start just evaluating. And here's somebody who was so awesome to me. Like, they were there for me during a time where I needed them. But then things start to shift. And then when they're bringing you like drama, and they're bringing you rumors, and they're bringing you, it's like, wait a minute. You're not considering me in my space, right? My mental space, my spiritual space. Like, you can't just bring me that. And how does that help? But I remember texting her. I was like, okay, what good have you ever heard to come out of a rumor? So for you to bring me that, now I have to really evaluate where we are and where we're going. So, at this point, I'm in prep. I just told her, hey, you know what? I will contact you when I feel like I'm ready. And, it's tough, because when you really do love someone, and I take my friendships very, very seriously, I'm fiercely loyal. But yeah, I can't ignore it. It's not going to just go away. You have to address it. So it's a matter of, I've put it off for now, because I just need my energy to flow towards this, right? Because I'm going to win, right? I'm going to win, and I have to keep feeding myself that energy. I have to feed myself that. And yeah, so I mean, I'll deal with it once I come off of the prep, but it's just, it's disappointing. But you get to decide what and who you're going to surround yourself with, and if those people's morals and ethics and what they bring to the table line up. None of us are perfect, right? But does it line up with at least getting some momentum in the direction of, let's look at some life achievements, right? We want to look back in 10 years, 15 years, even a year from now, and be happy about the decisions that we've made, right? And if you aren't surrounding yourself with people who are forward thinking like that, right? And evaluating what types of actions they're going to take before they do it, right? So, I mean, evaluating consequences for actions, be it good or bad. You really got to think about stepping back from those people, because again, they could make a decision. I mean, if I let that slide and she makes another decision, now that's on me, right? Because I didn't address it, and I didn't make sure that, hey, we're not doing that, right? I've got goals. So if you aren't coming to my space talking about goals and how we're going to get things done this year, every year I got new goals, right? If you're not bringing something to that space that's going to help me get there, and I can help bring something to your space that helps you get there, then we need to cut it. And we got to do it quick.
We call that trimming the fat.
That's it. Because we don't
Trim
need
that
it. We don't need it.
So I have 2 questions with that. So you said that this person had been there for you in past. Did you deal with any guilt of going through this, of being like, hey, I'll reach out after this prep, but right now, like, I have to be selfish in that, just because that person had been there for you? And then have you ever had to do that with anyone else in past preps?
I did feel a little guilt, only because, it was just a matter of, she was there for me during a time where it was needed. So to give you guys a little background, I was on my way to my pro debut. And my coach, who always travels with me, thank God, his brother the day before fell into a coma. Like I was just like, I was beside myself. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, and the show is out of the country. So yeah, I needed to drive to Canada to go. It was in Toronto. So Toronto Pro was my pro debut. And this lady, she stepped up and she, you know, said, hey, you know what? It's okay. I chatted with my husband and we can get you there. And I'm like, oh, wow, cool. And this is how I actually got into women's bodybuilding. I made my pro debut in women's physique because that's what I got my pro card in. But doing that show was a very pivotal point because that's when I was approached by several people and a couple of judges that I needed to go into women's bodybuilding. And, you know, again, putting myself in that position to actually execute and being committed to getting there was one thing, but her being able to step in and say, hey, based on these circumstances that suck right now, I can help you out. And yeah, I felt a little guilty because it was like, yeah, is it something that we can talk through? Of course. But then I have to ask myself, is it something that I can give my energy to right now? Right. I mean, I have to be so careful right now because I've got my whole like list of goals for this year at the forefront, and I've only got so much time, right? And so much effort and so much energy. And yeah, where energy goes, I mean, it's gonna flow, right? So I had to just really say, you know what, as much as I may want to hop on the phone and just say, right now, let's just hash it out, and not right now. Not right now. And the conversation actually it was very wounding when it comes to me emotionally because I didn't expect this from her. And she said that, you know, it wasn't something that she meant in a harmful way. But I think that when people bring back rumors, again, that's why I had to ask her, what good have you ever seen to come out of a rumor? So why you would bring me that at a point where you know I'm in prep, you know my goal is to go and win this Olympia, you know my goal is to go and win this next Rising Phoenix Championship. You didn't even consider my feelings enough. So yeah, that part, yeah. So I felt a little guilty because it was like, dang, she stepped up for me when I absolutely needed her, right? Had she not come through, I was not going to that Toronto Pro because I couldn't drive myself to Canada. I was like carb depleted and right.
Can't even drive down the street.
Man, okay, I was driving back past the gym at 5 a.m. I was just turning around. I'm like, oh, Mo.
Oh, been there.
Oh, God. Yeah, people don't know. I mean, the things we can kind of experience during the prep. Yeah, you don't know it unless you've been in it. But yeah, yeah. And I haven't had that type of instance before now. So it's definitely something that, and I think that's probably why I needed to just pause because emotionally, I'm like, I got to gather myself, and I'm very cautious with how I want to proceed with certain things, right? I don't want to in a heated emotional moment say something that I don't mean, right? So sometimes, you know, it's a matter of let me step back. I haven't encountered anything like this before, because again, the rumor was about bodybuilding, and right with me being at the helm of bodybuilding in this position as the number one in the world. Yeah, it's something that I felt like she just didn't give any thought to or any consideration to before she decided to bring it to me. Yeah. So yeah, the guilt part of, yeah, man, she was there for me. It lingered for about a day or so, but then I was like, you know what? No, I gotta stay focused. I gotta do what I gotta do because she's not gonna be on that stage.
Yeah. You got to prioritize you and what's at the forefront of priorities right now. You know, what do you have to take care of right now? If this can hold off for, you know, a little bit, then, you know, and if they understand that, great. If not,
then oh well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I think that is just, it's so good to hear. It's so nice to hear that because I think we all will experience that at some point or another. But just like hearing that you are at the top of the sport and you are experiencing this and you're like, yeah, I've had some guilt, but like, no, I have to focus on me and prioritize me. It's just nice to hear for myself. So thank you.
Yeah. Because again, I mean, now you get to gather all of your energy back up and say, okay, you know what? Now I gotta focus. And I had a doggone good workout after I told her that.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
It was great.
Channel that.
Yeah, exactly. But you see what I mean? And then I was able to kind of take that momentum and just shift to the space that I need to stay in and, continue to get my work done.
Mhm.
Because again, I mean, we're looking at what, another 5 months left in the year, 4 months. Yeah, I mean, we've got the time is going. We got business to take care of. We got things to do because when December 31 gets here, I am guaranteeing you, I'm going to look back and say, yeah, it's been a good year. And I did exactly what I set out to do. I accomplished that goal. And now I'm going to sit down and set out for the next year's goals. Right. And yeah, that's the stuff that really helps people, especially women. So women, hear me out, please. When we encounter some women who have insecurities, and that's really where this whole thing jumped off from. She's got some insecurities that, I'm hoping that when we do sit down and talk, we can talk about it. Or I can at least let her hear me out from where I feel like that stemmed from. Because it's the insecurities that you fail to deal with that will find a way in your relationships and in your friendships to start rearing its head. So you need to be ready to sit down and like take a self-evaluation of the things that it's not easy. It's not easy. Things that you don't necessarily like about yourself, but then you start to ask yourself, can I change it? And if the answer is yes, which it always will be, what are you willing to do to change it?
Yeah.
Because certain things and starting from a place of gratitude is a really good jump off point, right? Be grateful that number one, that you even have the insight to say, you know what, these are my things. And I mean, I had a notebook. I wrote them down. All right, what are the things that I need to start addressing about myself that I'm not happy with and that I consider to be, insecure about, and now I can start working on it. And then you start to look at the how and the who. So, but you got to be willing to go to that place, and it's not a comfortable place. But your friendships and your relationships, even your relationship with yourself, is going to be so much better when you do it. Especially if you compete, you're going to bring another level of competitor to the stage, right? You're going to exude a certain level of confidence when you get up on that stage. But to just bury it and ignore it, it's going to come out in some kind of a way. You're either going to get involved in some of the catty stuff that really serves nobody any good, all the gossipy stuff. And this is something that, I've seen even pros get caught up. They're getting caught up into the nonsense of failing to deal with their own insecurities. And sometimes it's a matter of, and Sarah and I have had this conversation, maybe you've got a boyfriend you need to cut off. Y'all been together X amount of years, and deep down in there that this relationship really isn't serving you, right? Or there's certain things about it that aren't, what you need them to be, for your goals and your future. You got to make that move. You got to make that move. And if that means getting involved with, certain social groups or girl groups or counseling or whatever, right? Do that. Do that. Don't be afraid to make those moves, because those are the things that, again, cause you to really exude a certain level of confidence where people may not be able to put their finger on it, but they know it's something different about you, right? You've done that inner healing work. And I feel like women need to take that much more seriously, especially now, right? Thank God we've lived through COVID. Like, I feel like if you're not grateful that you lived through COVID, like the world shut down, people, like completely down. Like, okay, start dealing with your stuff, go into the dark places, start doing your shadow work, and get into a better energy, because we all need to make sure we bring good energy to the table. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't have time. You don't have time to bring that negativity out. That was so
Not if you're
good.
gonna be successful. Not if you're gonna be successful. Deal with it. Deal with it. And no matter how long it takes you, deal with it. In 10 years, 20 years, you would be happy that you did. Because some of these women, and I hate to say it, but it's the older women, y'all. Some of these older women just carry this baggage. And it's like, man, okay, like, what you gonna do about it?
Yeah, right.
I think it's people across the board, it's people that haven't gone to that place of solitude to look inward. And especially if you're having trouble with any relationships on the outside, okay, where does this root from? What can I do better? Where can I improve that will just enhance the relationships and the quality of people around me? because I mean, Beckie and I have talked about this time and time again, you know, going to that place of really learning yourself and doing that hard work on yourself, that's only going to set you up for just positive and success on the outside. And it's two very clear buckets, right? You're self-aware or you're not. And that is like so clear as day in people that you encounter. And it's like, do I want you around me or do I not want you around me? It's very easy to tell.
Yeah.
Very.
And I feel like sometimes you can be self-aware in one area of life and not in others, or you're open to that development in one area of life, but you don't want to get uncomfortable in others. So I think being fully self-aware is so important too. And it's not comfortable. It is not.
And then too, now if you going back to kind of how we started, right? If you've really surrounded yourself with people who are genuine, with people who will come to you and say, hey, you know what? This is what I've noticed about you. And you not be defensive about it, right? This is what I've noticed about you. And this is something that I feel like you need to deal with. Right. And because I'm your friend, I'm going to tell you. And because I want to see you be healthier and I want to see you be better, I'm going to tell you. You need to think about those types of people being in your circle. Because those are the people that will, I mean, you know what I mean, help you change your life for the better.
Yep. And if they didn't care, they wouldn't bring it up.
Bingo.
Oh, yeah.
Bingo. They would just let you slide and go along and get along. No. We want to have good quality people who will call you to the carpet and say, stop, pause. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You need to deal with this because this is something that, you know, whether whether they've been around you a year, 2 years, 3 years, hey, this seems to be something that is an issue. This is an issue. And now, you know, because I mean, again, this young lady or older lady, I've told her in the past about certain things that have like happened between her and you know other people, right? But then I'm trying to always redirect, right? So it's like, okay, instead of focusing on this, I need you to focus on this, and then you will feel better, right? Or you will be able to go this way and not be so affected by this. But now that it involves me directly, right? So now we got to have a different level of conversation. So that's where, and again, you want to be able to be honest, and you want to be upfront with the things that you know for sure are holding these people back. And if they receive it, great. But if not, then you need to be ready to say, you know what, that just means that I need to trim the fat, and then we will have more meaningful relationships emerge. Because I mean, from being in this position as the champ now, I have developed a lot of new friendships. One specifically with my posing coach. So my posing coach is Sid Gillen, and she's the 6-time, soon to be 7-time Miss Figure Olympia, right?
She's amazing.
She's outstanding.
Oh my gosh,
And
she's incredible.
I mean, she's one of my most trusted friends, like truly. And it's just a matter of not, learning so much from her over these last 3 years. It's been outstanding. But again, you have to reevaluate, right? Sometimes you do have to cut off some people, and I have cut off some people along the way. But when you asked me that question, I hadn't experienced it under these type of circumstances. There was something about their behavior or the direction that their life was going that I needed to shift gears and say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to spend time investing in that relationship anymore, right? But yeah, this particular friendship or association is a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to see, okay, now what is my circle kind of molding into? And yeah, now I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that my entire circle now is more people who are into business, people who are setting very lofty goals, but very realistic about setting the action steps forward to actually achieving those goals. Yeah, and it's much more structured. So I'm meeting people who are more disciplined. I'm meeting people who are more about business and more about, again, bringing that sincerity to each and every relationship and business relationship. And it's been a really good journey to see like my life starting to flourish, right? Yeah, so you have to be aware of that. Sometimes people are just for a season, right? And you just take the lesson and you have to move on because there's going to be somebody new who's going to come, and then that person is going to be like, where have you been all my life? Right. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
I
It's
love
good.
that so much.
I love that for you because like I said, I mean, you're so deserving of literally all of the good. And I love watching your success so much because A, you deserve it, and B, it's so inspiring. And I mean, how many times have we had just countless conversations about like, all right, what's next? What's
Yep.
next? What's
Yep.
next? And I
Always setting that goal, right? Oh,
I
I
love
love that. I love that. I feel like when you are able to do that, it helps you to really keep life moving forward.
it. Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, when people start getting stuck, that's when they get
Complacent.
that
Yeah.
problem. They can have problems, big problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask how, because I know that you are into spirituality and everything like that. How has your faith, how has that helped you in just your entire journey from, I mean, even I guess stemming into pre-bodybuilding to
Yeah.
now?
So I had a friend, I mean, and I've always been rooted in my faith. So let me start with that. I had a stint of time when I was younger where um, I lived on a farm in Kansas, right? Go figure. Modern
I
day
love
Dorothy.
that.
Of course. And my dad was a pastor. So my dad pastored a church. He was actually an assistant pastor of a church. And, my faith, and I went to Catholic school before I actually went to go live with my dad. So my faith has always been a part of my life. I've not always made the wisest choices, but I've definitely always been very deeply rooted in knowing that my faith is what my foundation is.
Mm.
But when I got to probably my first year of college, I just how you have that nagging that there's more, right? That you were like created to do more. You were created to have different types of experiences. Um, and I just began to kind of explore that, like, okay, well, what is it? What is it that I do like? What am I drawn to? What am I naturally like gravitating towards when it comes to what excites me and makes me happy? Because I mean, the first 2 years of college, I mean, I was an IT major, then I was a marketing major. Then I'm like, maybe I'll go back to IT. And then I'm like, I don't want to sit in front of a computer all day. And then I'm like, but I'm more of a people person. But then I'm like, marketing is cool, but I'm like, I like physically being more active. So that's when I started to, and my mom always kept me like around the gym. And ironically, by the time I got back from Kansas, my mom was into going to church really heavy. So it was like, again, like perfect timing, just good timing. God knew what he was doing with timing.
Always does.
Always, always. And I love that. Thank God. It was just a matter of, okay, you know what? I really love exercise. I really enjoy the benefits of exercise when it came to me boosting my self-esteem. And I try to just be very transparent with people. My self-esteem was not in a place where it was good. So it was like, you know what? I went through a bad breakup. And it was like, once my dad died, I had to like figure out life and dating. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like, what is it? Okay. So I started getting to the gym. But by this time, my mom was like not really as active in the gym because she was training clients up to a certain point. But once I got 18, my mom wanted to go back to school, and that was a whole commitment that required a lot more of her time. So then I started to look into, going to college for exercise and sports science, getting magazines, getting books, talking to people in the gym. And I'm like, you know what? This stuff is like, this makes me feel good. And after that breakup, I was like, you know what? I'm going to reinvent myself. The breakup sucks. I still feel like I could do better with like my consistency with working out, but what would make me get in my best shape? What would it feel like to be in the best shape ever? And I was like, I got to do a show. I got to do a show. And I emailed this guy. His name is Robert Kennedy. He owned Oxygen magazine. The publication is still out, but Bob has passed. He passed away. And I said, well, how are you getting your girls on the covers? I mean, I love the content. I love the magazine. I'm a faithful subscriber. And he's like, yeah, we're at the shows. And, if we like their look, we will ask them about working with them. And I'm like, all right, that helps me to solidify my decision. I'm going to jump into a show. And I got ready for my first show, y'all, in 4 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
It was wild. It was wild. Cause I mean, and that's one thing about me. Like I've got a very strong constitution for like, when I set my mind to something,
Mhm.
yeah, that's all set. So listening to a friend of mine, she's like, okay, well, I think you got 1 out of 2 people who can kind of help you and help you decide which show to do and if you're ready and blah, blah, blah. So I sent my pictures to this one lady and she says, oh, I don't think you're going to be ready. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be ready. And I'm going to show this, I'm going to show this X over here. I'm on a mission. I got to show this X over here that I am definitely like, I am that girl. I don't want him back, but I'm going to show him that I am that girl. And one of the other two people that she introduced me to was my current coach.
Wow.
John. And yeah, I've been knowing John since I was 25. And I wasn't really committed to competing. At that point, I was just more of an emotional kind of connection to me, like reinventing myself and being this empowered woman. And it worked out good. I mean, those 4 weeks were very pivotal. John actually didn't help me with the show. He helped me with posing, with the diet. He didn't help me with the diet or the coaching, right? I was still pretty much like self-coached. And I had a girl who worked at the gym who helped me out. She used to compete in bodybuilding and she agreed to help me out. So we formed a friendship. We're still friends. We keep in touch. And it was like, okay, well, you know what? I may actually be working with something here. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna just, hire a nutritionist and I'm gonna jump into another show. Let's see how it goes. And John was there to help me with more posing. Back then I was in figure. So I was still too big for figure, but I wanted to give it a shot because I wanted to just see, how I could do. Because I mean, coming in third of my first show ever, I was like, wow, okay, let's see how it goes. And yeah, I did the second show a couple months later and I came in fourth. But I knew then, I was like, okay, I gave a lot more effort to that. I hired the nutritionist and it wasn't that my physique didn't come in sharper, but I was still too muscular for the division. And so back then, women's physique was not around. There was just fitness, women's bodybuilding, and figure. And so I'm like, well, you know what? I still got to finish school and I'll just keep working out. And let's just, at least I kind of made my point of, I got more in there, right? And I can start to just bring that out. And now I can just focus on more of the knowledge part of, finishing school, working with clients, and actually like getting into the mix of what it's like to actually develop programs and things like that, get into personal training. And so fast forward 8 years, God sent someone across my path, another friend. He played NBA ball pro for a little while. And we were at the gym. He had retired, but we were just at the gym striking up conversation. And he walks by and he says, so tell me something. I said, yeah. He's like, most people, they wish they had what you have. God gave you all this and you're not going to do nothing with it.
God.
Hit me like a ton of bricks. Hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, whoa.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, let me get back to you on that. And it really, it literally made me stop in my tracks. It was like, dang, you know what? Okay, because by now women's physique had come out. And I was like, you know what? These girls got a little more muscle. Let's just see where it goes, I had developed myself to a point then where I could see a lot of definition, especially my upper body.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, and I went back to him. I said, all right, I heard you loud and clear. And I feel like you didn't just come up with this. I feel like God sent you to tell me.
For sure.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
And he was very adamant. He was like, I think you can go pretty far in this. He was like, you know what? I'm cheering you on. And yeah, I jumped into that women's physique show, my coach's show, and I came in fourth. And I thought, for sure, like there was nothing wrong with my physique other than like my legs. And I knew that John was very good at training legs. So when I did work with John after those first 2 shows, I only would have him train me on legs, but I was very inconsistent, you guys. Again, I had no further ambitions on really competing until I had seen my friend at the gym who told me, you better use what God gave you and stop messing around.
What year was this?
And so then this was 2016.
Okay.
And so then I actually went to my coach and I said, John, I got the means now. I have a full-time job. I can compete. And he introduced me to Mind and Muscle. He's like, this is 6 minutes from your house. It's a perfect gym. And I said, well, what do you think about you coaching me? I mean, I've never had a coach. So, I mean, just working with me from start to finish to get my pro card. Because I really feel like, I could possibly make this work. And he's like, yeah, I told you years ago, you got so much potential and you don't even know it. And, by this time, girls, I had finished school. I had racked up the student loan debt. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go back to school to try to rack up more debt. Because then I'm like, they were only going to pay me so much money out of college. Right. And it was like, it's such a, and I'm not trying to knock education, but it's such a discrepancy between what they charge you for the education versus what you make when you come out.
Yep.
And I was two classes away from PT school, and I ended up bailing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not committed to giving $100,000 worth of education. I can't work. I own a home. And I'm like, well, let's just give this bodybuilding thing a try and let's see what happens, or this competing thing a try. And John agreed to take me on. So I ended up taking 17 off. I said, well, let's just keep working and let's train. Let's get a good, few months of training in, because we were like in the middle of 2017. I said, once 2018 comes, whatever show you want to throw me in, I will do it. It doesn't matter where, I will do it. And so, yeah, we kicked that year off in March. And he sat me down right after Christmas. He's like, all right, I got a show for you. We're going to put you on stage in March. So prep starts January. I was like, whew, okay. But I felt confident that, he could get me to that next goal. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we did 5 shows total that year. So a lot of people they're like, you got your pro card in just 5 shows. So I did 3 local shows, and then I did 2 national level shows. And again, learning along the way. I hadn't had a posing coach until my first national level show, because I knew there was nothing wrong with my physique. I mean, I brought, in my opinion, that for my amateur time, that was my best look when I went to North Americans. I was absolutely just spot on, but my posing needed some work. So I hired a posing coach. I hired Kenny Wallach, which, again, I mean, when he took one look at me, he was like, oh, girl. It was like God just sent these people along the way to help me, right? Like, reassure me, okay, you're going in the right direction.
Always does.
Always. And that's kind of how I've really been looking at things every year since, right? So once I got that pro card and I went through what I went through in 2018 with, those people who passed away, I'm like, all right, God, you got to get me through this. I feel like, I'm right there at the door. I'm like right there. And sure enough, I mean, we went down to Miami, and I got that pro card. But then it was like, okay, now got the pro card. So the only next thing to do is to win a pro show and go to the Olympia. So by this time, yeah, I've got the Olympia in my sights, but as a women's physique competitor.
Right.
But yeah, thank God for that time as a figure competitor, because making the switch from women's physique to women's bodybuilding was much easier. Yeah. Still a learning curve, but it was much easier because I'd already been there with switching from figure to women's physique. And figure, that was a harder transition, because I felt like I was fighting my body. I mean, my quads were just so big. I couldn't see myself placing well in figure beyond like a 3rd or 4th place. Because again, the conditioning was never an issue, but it was just like the size. I was just always very dominant with that lower body. But yeah, this is where, even again, to this day, like my mom and I, we still very heavily, are into, studying scriptures and, going to church and just making sure that, we do things right. We want to make sure we try to be good people while we're, God gives us this time. And I think it's just a matter of, I think the more in tune you become with your faith, right? Even if Christianity isn't your thing, right? I feel like our religions are usually based and rooted in some sort of a good moral character that the person should embody. And I think that that's something that you should keep at the forefront. So yeah, I mean, I have these goals. I pray. I make sure that, all right, I'm checking all the boxes. I'm treating people right, doing things with integrity. And I just let God kind of show me, what that next step is every year, right? Like, who to do partnerships with, who not to, who to stay in touch with, who not to, right? Who to kind of trim off. Who's the fat that needs to be trimmed off? Yep. Yeah, but I credit my entire existence on just having that strong foundation in my faith.
Love that. Love that. He always guides.
Yeah. And my first Miss Olympia, I felt like that was like a gift from heaven. Like on my birthday.
I remember that.
I was like, oh my God, you guys.
Drea, I remember watching the live stream. I was bawling my eyes out.
Oh, I love that so much.
Mind blown.
That that was a gift though, right? Like that
Totally.
was.
I'm like, I can't make it up.
Yeah.
I didn't pick the dates. And we were in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
And I
God.
lost my job. I actually lost my salary job right before that win. It was like
Really?
September. Yeah. And that show, both of my shows that year were in December. So they're like, hey, we can't afford to pay you your salary anymore. So I told John, I was like, all right, John, plan B just got set on fire. Plan
We're
A got
all
to
in.
work.
It's plan A.
Plan A has to work, bro. So
Hey,
like
you
whatever
know
you tell me
what?
to do, like we are committed
Gotta make it
100%.
happen.
Yeah, I took my whole severance pay and my 401k, what I had left in there. And I mean, I put all my eggs in the basket, y'all. I usually don't advise that for people. But I did. I put all my eggs in that basket because I mean, at that point, I didn't have any sponsors. I think Wings of Strength, sorry, I take that back. I had one sponsor, Wings of Strength. But there was still, I was so used to having that salary and the healthcare and the benefits, right? And it was just, I was like, all right, God, you gotta step in and make it work. Because if this is what you really want me to do, you gotta make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put your
I
faith
believe
out
the
there.
faith.
And
That's
he
scary.
has. And he has. But you've done the work too. I mean, like I said, I have just loved watching you develop over our friendship. It's been so inspiring, and you're such an amazing human being that I'm just so blessed to know and to be able to call one of my friends. It's unreal. So I'm just so grateful for you and everything that you have ever ingrained in me, and you've always believed in me. And that goes so much further than everything, really.
And I will always believe in you. Always. Because you've got the sauce, girl. You've got the sauce. I picked that up about you when she made that switch. I saw it. I was like, yeah, this girl, she's going somewhere. And she's going to get there quick.
I tell her that all the time. I'm like, I just can't wait to see where you go. I cannot wait to see it.
Becky's got to get going here soon, I think, right?
Yeah,
I know she's got an early wake up.
I got an early wake up, but I got children storming in.
The mom duties call.
Yeah.
Andrea, I can't say thank you enough for your time to come on here and grace us with your presence. I am so, so grateful. I'm so happy that you said that you would come on here. I know that everyone who listens to this is going to find value in just everything that you said, because I always do so much in our conversations. And that's why first thing I was just like, we got to have Drea on. Like, she's just a ball of energy and positivity and just insightful and soulful. And like, I just adore that so much about you. So thank you so, so much for coming on. I appreciate you so much. And we need to get lunch something soon.
Yes, very soon. And I mean, if you girls would love to have me back on, maybe after I win them before.
Yeah. Number 4. Number 4.
Number 4 out of 10.
We're gonna throw another picture on here because I saw Drea in Vegas 2 nights before you won, and we threw up the 3 because we knew that you were going to get your 3rd.
Right. And I was so happy to see you. Oh my gosh. I mean, in Vegas, it was bananas in Vegas. So to see you was like, yes. All right. Friendly face, good energy. We got this.
Yep. But yeah, thank you so, so much for coming on. We appreciate it so much. Beckie, you want to close us out?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. And I want to get to know you more now. Like, your energy is contagious. So
what's from the heart reaches the heart. So I can definitely assure you that we're going to have a good time.
I love it. I can't wait to see it and watch you win and all the things. But thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to watch episode 10. And this is a good one. So we will see you next week. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.